Hola, welcome to a new update, and today we're going to discuss why Bitcoin is not breaking 42k and why Ethereum is showing so much strength. Well, that answer is quite clear with all the updates coming in a few days from now, so there might be a case of buy the rumor, sell the news. But before we continue, do not forget to subscribe beneath and like this YouTube update, and also check out our website in the description where you can trade alongside me and where you can start educating yourselves in this crypto world. So let's discuss the charts in which the weekend fake out has happened, right? We've had the scenario that we've been making here, in which the critical level that Bitcoin had to hold on to was 38.5, which essentially was still holding. And there, just before the weekend closed, or with the week for CME futures closed, we saw this big move upwards towards the resistance between 40.7 to 42.5. And I discussed that it felt like if pretty much fake out, especially given the low volume that we had in this move, through which we tried to break above the range high, as we have had all those tests here. But then we still have 42.7 to 42.9 as a resistance zone, and as long as we as long as we can hold 40.8 as support, we could be continuing the momentum, but given the vertical move that we have, it would be very surprising if we just continue moving towards 48k, as that is the next point of interest. Based on that, we see that at the weekly close, we broke south into this range. So the scenario that we have is still standing. I'm still assuming that we will get a retest around 36k, with a potential wick to 35 to happen before we can continue moving. On the other hand, what we do know is that when this impulse move retraces and it's done with retracing, we can anticipate any further movements in which the next target zone is going to be 50k, which is a little bit higher than this resistance zone, but it's essentially this level that we have here, which has been very big in the history, through which we can see that we've had rejections here, support, rejection, rejection. So at this stage, we can see that we have a bearish divergence. We can see that the volume has been draining down, and we can see that we are potentially making a lower high through which we can break south even more. So let's just get a clean chart going here in which we can start discussing it. So here you can see the actual fake out scenario that I had. The critical area that we had to hold was this previous high. So I just delete it. This previous high was the level that we should be holding here in order to avoid any breakdown. We did, through which this previous high, and especially this one here, which has been support previously, so this entire block, that is something that you should be looking at if you want to start shorting. So if Bitcoin gets to this area, I'd be looking for shorts. If we do break through it and we flip for support again, yes, of course, then we can see continuation. But given the fact that there is bearish divergence, I'm not assuming that Bitcoin is going to break to the upside once again, especially given that Bitcoin and ETH have been making so many green candles afterwards and are acting in ranged resistance, through which the majority is looking for longs and is bullish. So this is my critical area for resistance at this stage. If that rejects, the next area for support is the one that we bounced on. That's between 38.5 to 38.9. And especially given the fact that I'm assuming that we're making lower highs, lower lows, I think we reject at 39.6 again, and then we start to tumble down towards 36k, which is the area that we have discussed. So on the downside, critical levels that we have is 38.5 and the one around 36k, which is a very big one, especially if we are bullish. You don't want to see the retracement going any further than 34.8 to 36, so anything in this range would be fine. Critical area on the upside is whether we can crack 41k. If that breaks and flips for support, I think we are on the path to 50k. If we look at Ethereum against USDT, we can see that we're also following this scenario here. Yes, we took the high, so we've made a double bottom and we are making a new higher high here, and we are having a very nice momentum as well. However, after such a big move, especially given the fact that we've got a new update on Ethereum network coming up in 2 days, and the fact that Bitcoin might be ready for a correction, it seems likely to see a higher low to be happening on Ethereum before we can continue moving. And it looks a lot like the period that we had here, in which we also had a double bottom, test the highs, and then consolidate before we start continuing moving. So in that case, any areas that you should be looking at for any potential longs is this previous high around 23. And then the second level is this previous high, which flipped for support and became resistance here, which could be granting a new higher low around 2k if a swift correction is going to happen. So for instance, if Bitcoin is going to correct from here to 35k, you can already assure yourself that Ethereum is reaching around 23. But if Ethereum against Bitcoin is going to correct, I think we're going to see a corrective move to 2k as a possibility. So at this stage we are making new higher high, we are looking for a new higher low. Whether that's going to happen at 23, whether that's going to happen at 2k, I'm interested at both of those levels as a potential long entry depending on the structure of the markets. On the other hand, what we also know is that if 23 flips, the next real resistance can be found at 3k because we are acting back inside this range structure here. Ethereum against Bitcoin is currently showing a breaker through which we are making a new higher high, right? So we've made those lower highs, we are making lower lows, now we have made a higher low and we are making a higher high, as this high that we had to break this downtrend is currently breaking. Does that mean that you should be looking at any long entries at this stage? No, I wouldn't be looking at longs at this point, but you could be interested at Ethereum when it corrects back down towards the area that we have around 0.6. If that area flips, it's just the same critical level as where we bounced on right now. If we have a corrective move and ETH against Bitcoin drops around 8 to 9% and Bitcoin against USDT is going to drop around 10% in a swift move, ETH could drop towards 2k and then you should be looking at long entries there. So I'm interested if we get to those levels here, or if you're not into any position at all, that's a level that you should be looking at, and then we probably start impulse waving to another impulse wave through the year. So as a conclusion, coming back down to Bitcoin against USDT at this stage, we have discussed it, but currently Bitcoin against USDT has a critical level that we have to break through, which is the level around 41k. If that doesn't crack, I'm assuming that we're going to test lower levels at potentially 38.5, but more importantly around 36k, granting you massive opportunities. I'll see you again tomorrow for a fresh new update, and don't forget to subscribe beneath.